Shannon Sharpe doesn't hold back as he calls out Giannis's hypocrisy. When it was announced that Damian Lillard was headed to Milwaukee to team up with the Greek Freak, it was almost universally believed that they would be the favorites to win the championship. However, we know how that story went. Last year was tumultuous for the Bucks, to say the least. You had coaching changes, major injuries, and an overall lack of team chemistry. And perhaps you can forgive all of that. It's rare for a super team to come together and click right away. It usually does take a year for the stars to really gel and for the team to build an identity, which only makes how the Bucks have started this season even worse. And the blame might lie on the man steering the ship. By the end of this video, you'll see why Shannon Sharpe has had it with Giannis. Last year, one of the big talking points was that Giannis and Dame didn't look too comfortable playing along with one another. The offense looked as if it was either Giannis's turn to score or Dame's. It wasn't this fluid offense where the two of them were thriving together. We often saw the old Dame show up when Giannis had to miss games. But when he was healthy, Dame looked like just another player rather than the superstar we have all been accustomed to seeing. However, this year, the two of them have actually played pretty well together, and yet the Bucks are off to a historically poor start.
Milwaukee is now 1-6 on the season, tied for their worst start through 7 games. They started 1-6 in 68-69, 74-75, and 93-94, missing the playoffs each time. The Bucks have also dropped 6 games for the first time since 2015.
Giannis Antetokounmpo said he and Damian Lillard were not able to get together this offseason, but they talked regularly throughout the summer.
Dame told you time and time again publicly last season, he told all of us that it was times that he felt lonely because it was the first time that he was away from his family. Did Giannis step up as a franchise player and a leader to say, hey, Dame, come over to the crib, watch some games, let's build some type of chemistry? Did Giannis do it good?
We should have seen this as a warning shot for the times to come. But in reality, you just can't count out someone like Giannis and Dame. We just assume that these two all-time greats will have things figured out. So, them not spending time together in the offseason only seems to be an issue if the Bucks started slow and looked terrible. And well, that's exactly what happened.
Every coach is there because of Giannis' blessings. He wanted to move off from Jay Kidd and got Mike Budenholzer. Mike Budenholzer won a championship. A couple of years later, they struggled losing the first round. He wanted a different head coach. They bring in Adrian Griffin. He was 30-13. That wasn't good enough for Giannis. They got Doc Rivers. He wanted, as Perk said, he wanted another superstar.
Which is why Shannon Sharpe isn't letting Giannis off the hook. With so much going on, you have to look at who is in charge of the organization, the entire team. Last year, it was Adrian Griffin who was let go when the Bucks had a record of 30-13. Since then, Doc has had a record of 18-26.
And so when you look at the moves that they've made, you know the organization consulted with Giannis. Giannis obviously wanted what he wanted, and as a result, they gave that to him to some degree, and this is how you're looking. When you are somewhat culpable for the conditions under which you're working with, then you don't duck and run.
That fall-off is substantial. After beating an Embiid and Paul George-less Sixers, they lost to the Bulls, Nets, and the Celtics. The most crushing of these losses has to be the Nets. In fact, after losing 115-102, Giannis made some comments that are pretty alarming.
Right now we don't have an identity. You know what I'm saying? Like, how are we going to win the game? Are we going to defend 48 minutes? Are we going to move the ball for 48 minutes? Are we going to attack? We won't play fast for 48 minutes? Or 36 minutes slow down in the last 12? Got to find an identity. We don't have that right now.
During the game, Giannis and Lillard combined for 43 points. The Bucks shot 30.3% from beyond the arc and turned the ball over 18 times. The rebuilding Nets also had a 47-43 edge in rebounding and outscored Milwaukee 38-34 in the paint. It's hard to point fingers at anyone but the two stars.
He wanted another superstar, but in the process of getting that superstar in Dame Lillard, you weakened your team because your own ball presence, what Holiday is. So what you did, not only did you weaken your team, you strengthened the team that's been your chief competition in the East. You made them damn near unbeatable. They got two young guns, two guys that can hound the basketball.
Of course, Shannon is referring to the blockbuster trade which brought Dame Lillard to the Bucks. But in the process, Jrue Holiday was traded to Portland, where he packed his bags and went to Boston and won another title. Now, the Celtics are looking as dominant as ever, and Jrue is primed to be part of a dynasty. Meanwhile, the Bucks are dead last in the conference, and no one knows what is going to happen to them.
No, Giannis, don't run. Why are you going to set the house on fire and then you going to run your ass up out of it? No, stay there. If it burns down, you set it on fire. Nah, don't duck and dodge now.
D. Shields was issued a flagrant 1 foul for that action. What's interesting is Caitlin's reaction to the foul. She wasn't having any of D. Shields' fake helping hand. The reason was that Caitlin was on the receiving end of 2 flagrants, one from Michaela Onyenware on a reckless closeout, and the other, which will receive far more attention, on a shoulder check from D. Shields. The flagrant 1 foul is interesting in comparison. Williams was ejected straight away, meanwhile D. Shields was allowed to continue playing. Clearly, Caitlin understood these girls were targeting her and trying to get into her head. So instead of letting her emotions get the best of her, she simply got back to her feet, collected herself, and continued dominating the game. Fans noticed the discrepancy as well. One wrote, "Same play happened to Caitlin Clark, but player wasn't ejected." Same W Media saying respect to Jason Tatum. Another fan chimed in and said, "Grant Williams did to Jason Tatum the exact same thing both Diamond D. Shields and Chennedy Carter did to Caitlin Clark." Williams was rightfully ejected, and there will be no think pieces on toxic fan bases as he gets flamed. Caitlin fans weren't done yet. They still had plenty more to say about the hypocrisy. Grant Williams tackling Jason Tatum is a perplexing play.
Giannis take shots about other guys going to link up. He don't want to believe in those superstar teams.
Yeah.
He don't believe in all that. Now you want to run it high? Don't think we didn't know you was taking subtle shots at KD. Don't think we didn't think you took subtle shots at LeBron and some of these other powerful players. Now look at you. 1-6.
But when Diamond D. Shields tackled Caitlin Clark to the ground, you called it just a regular shove, and you defended it. The WNBA media is the biggest joke in sports. Another made it clear what should have happened to D. Shields. She should have been ejected. What's even crazier is that the hit wasn't the first time Caitlin was targeted. She had a nasty run-in with Chennedy Carter, who took a cheap shot at Caitlin when she wasn't looking. Chennedy Carter seemingly shoulder tackled her for no good reason. Afterward, Chennedy refused to make any comments about Caitlin. This incident was so bad that you had guys like Shannon Sharpe calling out the WNBA players for targeting Caitlin. In the NBA, players also get targeted, but it's in a more friendlier manner. For example, a lot of young rookies want to dunk
30-13, but that wasn't good enough for you. You wanted a new coach. A couple of years after you won a championship with Mike Budenholzer, that wasn't good enough. You didn't got tired of Jason Kidd. Nah, you need to ride this ship out. You've been steering it.
Yeah,
you steered it into an iceberg.
Shannon,
You're
I
the
hear
reason
you.
that is going down.
And I understand that he has blood on his hands.
dunk on LeBron James because that would be an awesome highlight clip for them. Or, when Wemby came into the league, everyone wanted to dunk on his because it would be great. But no one really goes out of their way to harm or injure another player. It has been so strange to see the women's reaction toward Caitlin, who seems to be simply playing the game and not doing anything extra. What's weird is that another Sky player, Angel Reese, also had a nasty incident with Caitlin in one of their games. Reese was coming from behind while teammate Isabel Harrison was also going for the ball. The former LSU star seemed to attempt a block but hit Clark's head instead. Officials originally called it a personal foul, and after a review, they upgraded it to a flagrant one. This type of thing does happen a lot in basketball because it is a physical sport. However, with it being Caitlin, many believed that Angel crossed the line and purposely struck her. Reese, on the other hand, believes she did nothing wrong. In her post-game interview, you could tell she was frustrated by the way the media portrayed Caitlin. On top of that, she really had an issue with the referees who seemed to be favoring Caitlin. In reality, it has been the opposite. There have been plenty of occasions where Caitlin has expressed her